I came back after a 24-hour medical shift, but my key didn't work. My father-in-law texted, "We need $20,000 for the hunting lodge." I slept in my SUV. Next morning, my wife left cold takeout with a note, "Your breakfast." I smiled, froze our account, ended the lease, and drove off. The key didn't fit. I twisted it hard, harder than I should have, until the metal dug into my palm. Nothing. The lock clicked dumbly, refusing to budge. That's when I noticed the faint scuff marks on the doorframe. The lock had been changed. I let out a breath and stepped back from the porch. My body ached. 24 hours of trauma patients, amputations, a double-code chopper run from Juneau to Seattle. The kind of shift that left blood dried under your fingernails no matter how many times you scrubbed. I just wanted a hot shower, a quiet bed. Instead, I was standing outside my own damn house at 6 in the morning with a dead key in one hand and my go-bag slung over the other shoulder like an unwanted guest. My name's Ian Keller. I'm 37, a flight medic stationed out of Everett, Washington. I've seen grown men scream themselves to death and kids fight to live with nothing but duct tape holding them together. But this lock? This stupid, silent betrayal? It broke something deeper. I checked my phone. One new message. From Ronald Jensen. 20,000 by Monday. Legacy means sacrifice. Don't make me explain that to your wife. Ronald, my father-in-law, always signed his texts like veiled threats. Always talked like I was a teenage disappointment instead of the man keeping his daughter housed and fed. 20 grand. For a family legacy hunting lodge restoration. A gift. From me. A man who hadn't had a solid night's sleep in 3 months. A man who just realized his key didn't work anymore. The SUV in the driveway still had my hospital badge clipped to the rearview mirror. I sat inside, trying to calm my breathing, fingers shaking as I flipped the visor down. There was $62 left in my checking account. My savings? Nearly gone. Every raise, every bonus, every overtime deposit had been swallowed by joint accounts and home projects. I'd been funding someone else's life for years. Night fell. Nobody came out. Nobody texted. At some point I dozed off, curled sideways in the front seat like a broke college kid. I woke up shivering around dawn. My neck stiff, my bladder full, my stomach hollow. That's when I saw it. A plastic grocery bag sitting on the top step. Inside, cold pad thai. Greasy, clumped together. A packet of soy sauce and a folded note. Your breakfast. No name, no heart. Just contempt disguised as charity. That was the moment I made 3 silent decisions. No rage, no shouting. Just a kind of surgical clarity. First, I'd freeze the joint accounts. Every last one. Second, I'd terminate the lease. The house was in my name. My salary. I'd been paying every cent. And third, I'd drive away in the SUV they loved posing with on Instagram. The one I'd bought. Registered. Insured. I took one last look at the house, our house, and then turned the key in the ignition. They shut the door. I was done knocking. The motel smelled like bleach and desperation. $39 a night if you didn't need clean towels. I paid cash, left the blinds drawn, and laid on the bed fully clothed, staring at a water stain shaped like Florida on the ceiling. I hadn't cried. I didn't scream. But something about lying there, in a place that didn't even pretend to be home, made me feel like I'd been stripped bare, like every part of my life had been peeled away and tossed out with the trash. After a few hours of pretending I could rest, I sat up and opened my laptop. I still had access to everything. I'd been the one who set up our shared cloud accounts, the email aliases, even the finance tracker my wife liked to ignore. I clicked through the bank records first. $3,000 a month wellness retreats. Someplace in Sedona with crystal baths and ancestral rebalancing. $7,200 interior design invoices. Custom curtains. A vintage rug shipped from Denmark. All paid from our joint account. My paycheck. I felt a heat rising under my collar. Not rage. Not yet. Just shock. Like watching a car crash in slow motion and realizing you're the one behind the wheel. I dug deeper. Her email account still had my recovery phone number attached. I triggered a password reset. No confirmation prompt. I was in. The inbox was full of forwarded jokes from her sister, shopping receipts, and something worse, emails with a subject line that made my stomach churn. Draft. Rudd. Settlement proposal confidential. I clicked. It was from her to her lawyer, Greg Rudd, the same man I once shook hands with at a family barbecue, back when I thought we were all on the same team. The email was a draft, never sent, but clearly prepared. Spousal maintenance request. Yes. 50/50th asset split. Yes. Full occupancy of marital residence. Me, Ian to vacate. Vehicle. Assigned to petitioner Ian's SUV. It wasn't just greedy. It was calculated. Cold. She was building an exit ramp paved with my money, laughing behind my back while filing me away like a tax write-off. I opened another folder labeled Legal Prep. Inside, mock drafts, messages between her and her father. One line from Ronald stood out. Don't worry. He's not wired to fight. He folds under pressure. I stared at it for a long time. That one sentence told me everything. They weren't scared. They thought I was weak. A mule too tired to kick. They were wrong. I opened her Gmail settings and created filters. Simple ones. Any incoming messages with Greg Rudd, settlement, or petition were forwarded silently to a backup email I controlled and marked as read. Then I wrote to Greg Rudd myself. Brief, professional. From her address. Hi Greg, can we hold off a few more days? Some family tensions I'd like to smooth over before filing. I'll follow up next week. Best, M. I clicked send and closed the laptop. The wheels were in motion now, but they'd be moving under my control. That night, I used the motel's ice bucket to chill a bottle of off-brand soda and toasted myself with a plastic cup. I wasn't just trying to survive anymore. I was gathering ammunition. Let them think I was licking my wounds. Let them think I was lost. They'd never see the next move coming. I didn't have to wonder what was happening inside the house. I could see it. I still had access to the smart system, every thermostat, every camera, every speaker. I'd set it up myself 2 summers ago, sweating in the attic while my wife and Ronald argued over paint swatches downstairs. They never bothered to change the admin password. Probably thought I'd never be back. From my motel room, I pulled up the live feed. Kitchen, hallway, upstairs landing. Audio clear as a bell. Ronald was pacing, hands on hips, voice loud and snappy like he owned the place. She should have filed last week, he barked. What the hell is she waiting for? She's scared, my wife said. She sounded tired, not guilty, not regretful, just annoyed. He hasn't even called. It's like he vanished. Ronald slammed a drawer. No, he's playing a game, and you're falling for it. They stood in the kitchen where I used to make her French toast on Sunday mornings. Now it was just a war room for 2 people plotting a clean financial kill. I hit record on the dashboard. Every word backed up to my encrypted drive. Then I switched over to the speaker system. I didn't shout. I didn't rant. Just clicked a button and let the house deliver the message for me. A pause in their conversation, then my voice echoed through the kitchen speakers. You said I was too stupid to fight back. Still think so? The silence was instant. Then chaos. What the hell was that? Ronald spun around. I was searching for a source. Is he here? No, he's not. He can't be. My wife backed against the island counter, her face drained of color. Ronald ran through the living room, shouting into the empty air like a man chasing ghosts. Where are you in? I watched him open cabinets, rip open the pantry door, even peel back the edge of a curtain like I might be hiding behind it. I'm not doing this, my wife whispered. I didn't sign up for this kind of psycho-surveillance. Oh, now you're scared? Ronald snapped. You should have listened to me. I saved the footage, every second of it. The audio, the timestamp, the looks on their faces when the house spoke back. This wasn't revenge. Not yet. This was evidence. Insurance. They thought silence meant surrender. But I was in every wire, every wall, watching, listening, waiting for the exact right moment to pull the next thread. Let them yell into the corners. Let them look for hidden cameras. The only thing watching was the man they locked out, and I wasn't going anywhere. 3 days passed before the panic reached my phone. I was on break at the hospital, sipping burnt coffee and reviewing a medevac report, when my personal number lit up. Unknown caller. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a notification popped up. Voicemail from Greg Rudd. I plugged in my earbuds and hit play. Hi, Ian. This is Greg Rudd, legal counsel for your wife. For Madison. I wanted to reach out personally and, well, he cleared his throat, voice brittle. It's become clear this situation has escalated. I think we should consider a peaceful, private resolution before emotions or reputations get further strained. Please give me a call. Reputations. That word told me everything. I checked the forwarded emails again. Madison had been messaging Greg almost nonstop. Panic, desperation, pleading. Her tone had shifted from smug legal prep to urgent crisis management. And then there were the screenshots. From her blog's PR email. Her sponsors weren't happy. Until the personal situation is resolved, we're pausing the collaboration. We've seen the footage circulating online. Unprofessional conduct is not aligned with our brand. I hadn't posted anything myself, but someone had. Probably one of her followers who noticed the police report tied to our address. Or maybe a neighbor's doorbell cam picked up Ronald screaming into a hedge. Either way, the damage was spreading. I let it simmer for a day. Then I replied to Greg's email. My terms, $40,000, paid in full. Signed no contact agreement from both parties. I will not respond to further communications until payment is confirmed. Simple, direct, no fluff. He wrote back within the hour. Let's talk. I'm sure we can meet in the middle. I didn't respond. That evening, I checked the filters again. Dozens of new messages forwarded from Madison's inbox. Most of them were private replies from her social sponsors, interior design brands, lifestyle collabs, all backing out, quietly, firmly. She built an online image around control, a curated life full of soft neutrals and stage breakfasts. But now the cracks were showing. She sent one email titled, Urgent, Legal Advice, to 3 different people. One was Greg. The other 2 didn't reply. The third bounced back, account closed. I saw the desperation take root in her tone. Ian won't engage. My blog is losing traction. Sponsors are ghosting me. My father's losing it. I'm scared of what he'll do next. Please, just fix this. I didn't move a muscle. Just kept watching the house. Kept logging her keywords. Settlement, sponsor, damage control. At the hospital, I was calm, focused. I stitched wounds, monitored vitals, saved lives. At night, I watched them squirm. The man they locked out wasn't begging anymore. He was setting the price of betrayal, and it started at $40,000. We met in a rented office suite on the 2nd floor of a suburban law firm that doubled as a dentist's office on weekends. Neutral ground. No one had the home advantage. I chose the place deliberately. The conference room was cold, with a long fake wood table and a single wall clock ticking like a metronome for tension. I was there 10 minutes early, calm, collected. I had nothing in front of me but a flash drive and a copy of the no-contact agreement. They arrived late. Greg Rudd walked in first, looking like he hadn't slept. He tried to smile, failed, and gave me a tight nod instead. Madison followed, eyes red, lips pinched. Ronald came in last, still dressed like a country club tyrant, but his face was blotchy and drawn. He looked like a man who'd run out of people to intimidate. "Thank you for meeting us," Greg started, voice overly polite. "We really want to." I held up a hand. "No speeches," I said. "Let's get to it." Greg opened a folder. "We're prepared to discuss financial settlement in the neighborhood of." I slid the flash drive across the table. "What's this?" Madison asked. "Proof," I said. Ronald snorted. "Of what? That you've lost your mind?" I leaned forward slightly. "Of everything." Greg plugged in the drive. I had it set to autoplay. First, a clip from their kitchen, Ronald calling me a dumb mule, my wife nodding. Next, a screen capture of the draft email to Greg, outlining her proposed settlement, with my name stripped from the home, assets divided neatly, like I was a guest in my own life. Then, a highlight reel of audio snippets. Madison mocking me in messages to her sister. Ronald discussing how he'd twist the optics if I pushed back. Last, the speaker system moment, my voice echoing through the house. Their faces caught on camera, unraveling. Silence filled the room. Just the tick-tick-tick of the wall clock. Ronald stood abruptly. "This is illegal surveillance." "No," I said coolly. "I had full admin access. You never changed the credentials." Greg pinched the bridge of his nose. "Jesus." I pulled out the agreement and slid it across. 40,000, I said. "Pay to the account on file. You both signed this no-contact order. No future claims. No statements, online or otherwise. You break it, I release everything, publicly." Madison finally spoke, voice shaking. "You wouldn't do that. That footage, it would ruin me." "You're already doing that yourself," I said. "I'm just giving you the option not to finish the job." Ronald leaned over the table, furious. "You're blackmailing us." I didn't blink. "I'm giving you a choice. You either take this clean exit or you take the storm." Greg looked at me, resigned. "Can we have a minute?" I nodded and stood, stepping out into the hallway. I didn't pace. I didn't think. I didn't feel anything, really. Just the stillness of a man who's already made peace with whatever comes next. 10 minutes later, Greg opened the door. "They'll sign." Back inside, I watched Madison scrawl her name with shaking fingers. Ronald did it with a sneer, but he signed. I folded the papers and tucked them into my folder without a word. Then I stood and looked at all three of them. "This wasn't revenge," I said. "This was correction." Ronald glared. "You'll regret this." I paused at the door, then turned to him with the faintest smile. "No," I said. "You will." And I left them sitting there in silence, in a room colder than any motel parking lot. The next morning, it hit my account at 9:14 a.m. sharp. $40,000. Electronic deposit. Memo. Settlement payment. No contact agreement. No back and forth. No delays. No please reconsider emails. Just silence and money. Exactly how I wanted it. I sat on the edge of the bed in my new apartment, the sun pushing through half-closed blinds, catching dust in the air. It was small, just a one-bedroom with old hardwood floors and a faint smell of lemon cleaner, but it was mine. No memory of anyone else's footsteps. No ghost arguments in the walls. 10 minutes after the deposit, another email arrived. From Greg Rudd. Subject, final documents. Attached, fully signed no contact agreement. Timestamped. Witnessed. I opened it. Page after page of clean legalese. It read like freedom. No further contact. No financial obligation. No shared property. No room left to twist anything. I clicked download and saved it twice. Once to a local drive and once to the cloud. Then came the last act. A voicemail from Greg. I didn't answer, but I listened. "Ian, it's done. They signed. The money's sent. Honestly, I think they know they lost more than just a settlement. They've got nothing left to fight with. They won't be bothering you again. Take care of yourself." His voice carried something I didn't expect. Respect. I didn't reply. No point. I stood up, stretched, and walked to the window. Down on the street, a kid pedaled past on a bright red bike. Someone was walking a dog. Normal things. Quiet, regular life. That evening, I took myself to dinner. Nothing fancy. Just a burger joint a few blocks away that had metal stools and old Springsteen playing on a loop. I sat at the counter, ordered a draft beer, and didn't look at my phone once. I didn't feel like a man who'd won. I didn't need to. I felt like a man who finally stopped losing. Back at the apartment, I locked the door, took a hot shower, and dried off with a towel I bought myself. For once, every corner of the space was mine. Furniture picked without compromise. Colors not voted on. Plates that didn't match anything but my own taste. The kind of peace that didn't need words. I checked the lock one last time, turned off the lights, and went to bed alone, under clean sheets. Free. The first message came 3 days after the wire transfer. "Can we just talk?" I didn't open it. Didn't have to. The preview said enough. A second followed a few hours later. "I miss you. You didn't have to go nuclear." Then a voice note. Her voice shaky, breath catching like she'd been crying. I listened with the phone held at arm's length. "I made mistakes. I see that now. But you didn't have to do it like this. You didn't have to leave." I tapped save and archived it without replying. The next day, Ronald left a voicemail of his own, angry, of course. You think this ends with money? You humiliated me. That doesn't go away. It sounded less like a threat and more like a man realizing his influence no longer worked. I saved that one too. Every day after that, the inbox filled. Some were long, emotional paragraphs. Some just single lines. Please respond. Just one more conversation. Do you really hate me that much? And my favorite, I don't know who you are anymore. That one made me laugh out loud, because I knew exactly who I was now. They were just meeting him for the first time. I didn't delete anything. I archived everything. Every voicemail, every screenshot, every backpedal. I wasn't collecting them to use. I just wanted proof, for myself, that I'd never imagined any of it, that it really happened, that I was finally on the other side of it. Weeks passed. They started spacing out. The desperation softened into guilt, then nostalgia. Remember that time in Cannon Beach? You always knew how to make me feel safe. I let it all float by, words with nowhere left to land. Instead, I got back to living. I started biking again. Trails through the forest just north of the city, winding uphill until my legs burned and the world went silent, but for the sound of my breathing. I picked up my old camp gear and spent 2 nights under the stars near the riverbank. Alone, peaceful. I cooked slow meals, things that simmered and stewed. I let the apartment fill with real smells and real music, not curated playlists and overpriced candles. My phone stayed mostly silent, not out of habit, but by choice. One night, while flipping an omelet in a cast-iron skillet, I realized something. The real revenge wasn't money. It wasn't exposure. It wasn't watching them fall apart. The real revenge was silence. Not anger. Not arguments. Just refusal. Refusal to play the role again. Refusal to answer. Refusal to return to a life that cost everything and gave nothing. I didn't want them to suffer. I just didn't want them near me. They threw me out and thought I'd come back to beg. Instead, I disappeared, and they would spend the rest of their lives hoping for a reply that would never come. The strongest thing I ever said was nothing, and I meant every word of it.